There we go. Okay. Hey, Jabu. Yeah, man. So what we're actually going to be doing is we're going to be doing this this randomizer run here, but I'm going to be commentating over it as I am going to be submitting this to DreamHack Austin. And they may take it up as, if they like it, they'll take it in as one of those, and I can potentially run this at DreamHack, which would be legit. So we're gonna get started here. So the magic cape can pass through the barrier. So that's a tip, obviously. So if you don't have the master sword to get into Ganon, so the mode that we're going to be playing here, is the. It doesn't matter. I don't have to respond to what you say. So the mode that I'm going to be playing here is the randomized weapons mode. So as you can see here, the game starts off just the same as it would on regular Link to the Past, but the big difference is that the uncle may or may not have a sword for us. He may have a different item for us. And so we'll find out here in just a moment. We get bombs. Oh man. This is a good one to work with. Okay, so we're gonna try to use some bombs here to get through the escape. So the first thing we need to do is we need to save our bombs, because obviously bombs are a limited resource. It's not like finding the hammer or finding the, even the bow. Bow, you'd at least get some arrows, more arrows, and it's easier to kill things with the bow than it is the bombs. So we'll see how this pans out. This should be pretty interesting. Yeah, Cane of Birna works pretty well. Ice Rod, Fire, pretty much everything but bombs is easier than bombs. So yeah, let's go with the hardest thing, right? All right, so we want him to see us, because I want to try to limit the bomb usage. And we're just gonna go ahead and make him die from a couple bombs here. So blue guards are gonna take 2 bombs, green guards take 1. You'll see here pretty soon that will be that will be kind of an interesting deal here. We have to kill 2 more guards, and then we don't necessarily have to use bombs anymore to get through to the end of the escape. I'm just gonna hold it, let him hit me so that he can go ahead and take the damage there. Check this chest. We got the key, we can leave, but we gotta do this first. Oh, that's not good. So the hard part with bombs is obviously you can hurt yourself with them, and if you get hit by a bomb, they take up a full heart of damage, as opposed to the half a heart that like the enemies would actually be doing to us. So that makes it a little bit more difficult. We've got to be a little bit more timely with or a little bit more careful with our bomb placement and bomb usage. So this room, we're not going to use any bombs, because we're going to use some pots. We're going to do some pot strats, because it is the easiest way. And a lot of newer runners that actually run this game for speed running, pot strats are the most consistent and easy way to get in here. Alright, so we got 20 rupees. And to kind of describe a little bit more on the randomizer, so all of the key items in the game are randomized in their locations. So anywhere that you could find a key item, like any treasure chest in the game, and then like the old man up on Death Mountain, Sahasrara after you give him a pendant, there is an item there. It could be the same item, it could be something completely different. Yes, we do get a free cone of light in the sewer because the escape hasn't been completed. So this mode is done on the standard version of the randomizer, and that's one of the really cool things about the randomizer. I forgot to do a little timer here. But since it's the standard version of the randomizer, it's a lot easier as far as like just kind of like placement and logic and everything. In that, you know, you do the escape first, so you're guaranteed to get X amount of chests. Relatively easy. My favorite mode to do is actually open mode, which starts you after the escape sequence. So you don't do any of this with Princess Zelda. It's as if you had already rescued her. You don't have a sword, and you're trying to find your sword. And as you can see, we still don't have a sword now, so that's what makes this mode pretty cool, in my opinion, is that you don't, you know, it's the Forrest Gump mode. You know, it's the life is a box of chocolates, you never know what you're gonna get. And we're just gonna have to take some, there's gonna be damage that you can't really avoid in here. But for people that are newer to you know, playing the game or trying randomizer, this wouldn't necessarily be the mode that I would recommend for them. I would recommend just doing a standard randomizer. Uncle will still have sword, and you can still find our items everywhere. But what it really does is it just kind of breathes a whole new, just breathes life into this, you know, this old game. Oh, you son. Okay, cool. We got him. Still got him. Don't care. All right, and so we still have bombs, which is good, because we're gonna go ahead and do that. So far, it's been pretty worthless, everything that we found. The only good thing about what we found is that we've gotten enough money that we can buy the bottle from the bottle vendor in Kakariko, which is going to be our next step, pretty much. Hey, Cece. So we're gonna head to Kakariko after this. So we rescued Zelda. We're gonna talk to this old man. He's gonna get us go be a hero. Oh, what? They don't give you the full health? Well, that's to learn something new every day. And it'll probably be worthless. Very much so. Usually you spend 100 rupees for something you wish you didn't buy at all. More often than not, I spend 100 rupees to get like 1 rupee back. So it's basically like just, hey, here's 99 rupees, old man. Since we killed some enemies, we're gonna go ahead and do a tree pull here. So what we're gonna check up here is this is Aghanim's cave, and we are checking to see if we have to defeat Aghanim. So as you can see here, it's a heart piece. So that's not necessarily something that we need to beat the game. Now, obviously, if this is one of your like your first times doing a randomizer or anything, I mean, you know, the more items, the better, right? I mean, you know, it's more we call them safety items. So we may or may not have to do Aghanim. We'll find out more on that as the logic kind of presents itself. If we need to get Dark World access, those are the two things that you need to know about Aghanim, is to get Dark World access and whatever that item is. We're gonna go ahead and grab this. Usually I wouldn't go out of my way to grab that, but since we don't have anything else to do to attack something with, we may need more items. Or more bombs. So now we're gonna drop down into the Thieves' Cave here, or Thieves' Hut. For more money, we'll go to Kakariko, where the incessant heart beeping from us being low on health will stop, more than likely. There's so many items, you usually end up getting some hearts and stuff. Or we'll accidentally blow ourselves up with a bomb and game over. Also possible. So we've got 5 chests in here. This is why I like to go to Kakariko first. A lot of runners, they will head towards Southern Hyrule first. But I like to get as many things as I can before I kind of head that way, so I can swing back Hookshot, our first actual thing, which is one of my favorite things to get this early in the game. Any bottle vendor has Fire Rod? We'll see. So I like getting the Hookshot early because of the Lake Hylia cave that has, there's a bunch of mini mold orbs in there. And if you're playing casually, you usually don't know all of the cool things you can do with some of these sub-items, which is what makes the randomizer so much fun, is that you get to experience the game differently because you're using items in ways that you wouldn't ever have used them. Like, for instance, you probably wouldn't go around using bombs as your only weapon. But it adds that little bit of a challenge. Jeez. Game really wants us to have some money. And bottle vendor has a big ol' heart. Nope. Yeah. So we've almost exhausted all of our Kakariko options here. So what we're gonna do, because we only have bombs really as our main weapon, we're gonna come in here, and it's always a good idea if you're at the beginning and you don't want to pay the money for them. You come in here, get yourself some free bombs, some arrows, I guess if you need them. But once you blow that up, you can get 4 bombs per time we go in here. We'll get enough bombs that we won't need any more bombs for the rest of the randomizer while we're in here. That's plenty. 14 bombs is quite a bit. So I'm gonna switch to Hookshot here because of that, basically. Just because it makes some movement a little bit faster. The other place we're gonna check is the back of the bar. We don't have a bottle, so we can't talk to Sick Kid, who also has an item, which is where you usually get the bug net in the original game. So we're gonna come to the library. Obviously we can't do anything in there because we don't have the boots, so we can't run and knock the thing off. But the Moon Pearl is there, so it's 100%. We know we're gonna have the boots before we go to the Dark World. So that's a huge find. Now you can blow this up and go through this little area over here if you like. Or you can just walk down below here and go over and see if there's anything at the end of this maze without having to actually do it. Save you a little bit of time. For me personally, more often than not, I have more luck coming to the end of it. But of course, you know that since I said that, this time we got money. So that's all that we can do thus far up through our Kakariko visit. So we're gonna save and quit, which is gonna save us a little bit of time on movement. We're gonna go back to our house here. And we're gonna come down here, and we're gonna check along the coast of the lake. And once again, just kind of using the hook shot just to speed up our movement a little bit. Alright, we got another big heart here. And we're going to check what happens when we flood this. Or actually, I guess when we let out the water, rather. And 5 rupees. Now we're going to switch over to our bombs, as that will be the next thing that we need. Tavern. It was nothing. It was I think a heart piece. It was nothing major. But in the library was Moon Pearl, so we need to get boots. We got a book and a bottle. So the book and bottle really open up a lot for us. So we can go to the desert. We can also check and see what the sick kid has. I am going to do something a little different. We are going to go check the Ice Rod Cave. And the main reason I check this now is because you can ask so many of the guys who run this all the time that a lot of times you don't check it because, you know, most of the time it doesn't pan out. Because most of the time in Randomizer, a single location doesn't pan out. But there's always that time that you go through a run and it had what you needed. And if this requires ether, this had what we needed. Now we're going to do something called fake flippers, which is what I just did there. So we don't have the flippers, but in the game, in the 1.0 version of the game, which is what these mods are, what the randomizers are based off of. If you're within 1 pixel, so when you land in the water, you get 1 pixel movement before the game recognizes that you are in the water. So if you jump into the water 1 pixel away from the next screen, you will transition to the next screen without the game recognizing that you are in the water. If the game doesn't recognize you're in the water, the game assumes you have the flippers. We are going to save and quit out of here because it's going to be faster. Now you can do some other cool stuff with fake flippers and head up to Zora and do some other stuff up there. However, we will not be doing that. Now, before we go to desert, which is where I think the logic is going to send us, I want to check over at Eastern Palace. And the main reason for that is because we do not have a way, well, we do not have a realistic way to kill Landmolus, which is the boss of the Desert Palace, in the event that we get there. And we do not have a fire source to even get to him. So we need either the lamp or the fire rod to complete Desert Palace, if Desert Palace needs to be completed. So we're gonna come up here because there's many chests we can check. So far, a pretty healthy seed. We have a total of 7 hearts. Also, one thing that I really love about doing these randomizers is that when you are going into some of these dungeons, like Eastern Palace, right? You didn't have the hook shot when you come here in the original game. You didn't get the hook shot until you went into the Dark World, and it was, for most people, the second dungeon they complete in the Dark World. But now you have it here. So you can do some pretty neat little movement things to make your life a little bit quicker. Like, these guys can be killed with the hook shot. I could have just walked around them, and walking around them is actually faster, but I mean, you know, where's the swag in that? So one thing you got to keep track of when you're doing these randomizers is you want to either in your head or, you know, look at your inventory, or in a lot of cases I would use a tracker of sorts, which is like what I'm using right now, to keep track of items that you found. Okay, so cane of Sahash, or what is it? I don't know. A red cane. But you want to keep track. Oh, Samaria, that's it. Yeah, you want to keep track of in your head, especially if you've gotten the map, the compass, and the big key, because all three of those are going to be in this mode in every single dungeon that you go through. So that room right there, I manipulated to have less skeletons to spawn based on where I was stepping. And through the pots where they were going to appear. Therefore, you never really even see them. So we have the map and the compass and the big key. So that tells me that the original big key location has some type of item. Now, is it useful? You know, you never know. And then that tells me that Armos, the boss, has some type of item. So this here is, as you can see, we're blind because we don't have the lamp. Now there's a couple skeletons walking around, and there's some pots scattered throughout the room. Here, there's two of these, well, I think they call them Podobos or something. We kill them with the hook shot, and we just kind of walk through there. Hey, Super Unknown, how you doing, dude? So something we're going to do here that's a lot faster than killing all the enemies. We're going to damage boost off him, mess it up, and try it again. Get hit a million times, because that's how we do. And we're going to save and quit out of here, because we got everything in there that we needed. But the reason you want to make sure that you awesome, dude. The reason you want to make sure that you know whether or not you've gotten the big key, the map, and the compass in every dungeon. Obviously, when it comes to the big key, you're going to need that to get to the boss if you need to do that dungeon. Where if I press and you check the map right now, you can see right now that the Tower of Hera, I don't necessarily need to beat that to beat the game, because I only need to collect all 8 of the crystals. Or actually, I'm all 7, I'm sorry. I need to collect all 7 of the crystals to unlock Ganon's tower. However, the pendants, there is where the Master Sword is, and that sometimes is an item that is in play. But going back to what I was saying about the map, compass, and big key, if you are in a dungeon and you have the map and the compass, or so let's say you have the map, you don't have the compass, and you have the big key and you kill the boss, but there was one chest you forgot to check. You know that the compass is in that chest. So you don't need to go and check it. You don't need to waste your time because of you already know what's going to be in there. However, with that also being said, is if you are keeping track of that, make sure you keep accurate track of that. Because many, like, this is something that gets raced a lot on Twitch, on the speed gaming channels, but if you are racing somebody and let's say you forget to check that one chest, and that one chest has, you know, whatever item ends up being required, you're kinda SOL. Because you probably won't remember to come back to it. The blue hearts. So with the randomizer, you can customize some of the stuff. As you can see here, I am playing as my sprite is Dark Link, instead of the original Link, because I think he looks cool. And I like if you end up getting the red ring and you have red eyes, just cool looking. I didn't know that did that. I'd never hit that guy with the hook shot before. Oh no, that makes it way harder. Alright, so a heart piece, we don't need that. Alright, so we got the small key. We're gonna go over to the right side of the Desert Palace. Yeah, you never meant to have the hook shot in this dungeon, so that's where you get those weird things that happen like that. So we're gonna go over to the right section of the dungeon here. There'll be 2 chests for us to check. One of which is going to be the compass or the map. The other's potentially going to be something we can use. My guess. Now it could be the map, and Sick Kid could have our item we want. But in this case, that's not how it went down today. We got the ocarina, which the ocarina is big because that gives us Death Mountain access. So now we're gonna go to Kakariko, use the ocarina, which it works out really well for us because we also are going to go there and talk to the Sick Kid since we got the bottle. So that's 2 item locations that we can check. Now there's one thing, I was talking a little bit about the trackers. So the trackers, you can track your items. You track what items you have, and as you know, what ones you're missing, obviously, based on what you don't have. But they have trackers online also that will track where all the chests are in the game. So you can actually check off where all the items are in case you haven't played these a million times or something and know where all the chests are and where all the items are and everything. You can actually click through that tracker that way. So it's that way you're not sitting there, you know, on a secret that you didn't know that even existed, looking forever. So what is really nice about this, since we have the hook shot and the ocarina, we can check East Death Mountain, which is where the... Leave me alone, I'm sick. You have my item. Which is where the real money is. They have one. They do have an Ocarina of Time randomizer. You know, fundamentally, an Ocarina of Time randomizer wouldn't be too different than A Link to the Past, because think about the game. You know, you play as a kid, you go through, you know, what, 3 dungeons, and then you become big, or not big, you know, you go through time or whatever. I mean, that's kind of the same premise, really. Instead of being Big Link, you know, it's a dark world in this. So the main thing is just about creating the logic. Now, I'm not saying that it's by any means easy, and it's far beyond my capabilities. However, fundamentally, it's not too much different. A lot of chests. Hammer's huge. Gloves are huge. The bow is huge. Wow. That was a very big room for us. So that tells us that Aghanim is more than likely not required. might be required because hypothetically the boots could be on Pyramid. Extremely unlikely, but it is a possibility. Man, we are loaded with some cash. So now that we are here, we're gonna make our way over to the Tower of Hera. We can't take the normal way up because we don't have the mirror. So we're gonna come in through the back side of it, which it requires utilizing the hammer that we just got. Now we know that the Tower of Hera has a red pendant for it, so from the sake of completing it to beat the game, we don't necessarily have to do that. But once again, we have to find out what's items in there. So with the bow, we can complete Eastern, and we know that Armos is going to have an item, so that's definitely on our list of to-dos. With the gloves, we can get to a lot more places. Flippers are huge, so we need mirror. So Death Mountain is where the action is in this seed. There's like everything here. Yeah, there is a Super Metroid randomizer. It's fun. The one that I am excited to try that is just now, it's being tested a lot. It's not quite, it's not as easily accessible as this, is the combo. There's a combo Super Metroid Link to the Past randomizer. So that means that you can pick up a Link to the Past items in Super Metroid and vice versa. And to beat the randomizer, you have to beat both games. So I'll show you a little trick here. I guess I can do it with an arrow. So if you hit that switch while you're standing on a block, you can't be hit. You have iframes. Yeah, and with the Super Metroid and the Link to the Past randomizer, you cycle between both games. And you know what? This was pointless. Actually, coming over here was pointless because I do not have a fire source to get the item in the next room. We needed a big key out of that first thing. I don't want to walk back down the stairs. I'm going to throw that bomb. It's not close enough. Use that guy. We're gonna leave here, and we've got a place to check here on the west side of Death Mountain. So instead of going all the way around, we're just gonna go like this. See what the item is. It is a heart piece. We don't need it. We out of here. So we have the gloves, and we have a crap ton of money. We're gonna go see what Zora has. We still don't have a fire source, so we can't do desert. And not having a fire source before Eastern Palace makes it a little bit difficult to kill the one mob that you have to kill to get up to the end of it. So we're gonna check up here. It's a little bit of a trek. It's probably not gonna be worth our time, but we want to check it anyways. We want to see the mirror from Zora. Okay, I got a heart over there. Yeah, the combo randomizer is really cool idea. Stop it. There's that mirror I was just talking about. Oh, yeah, no, that's still faster. And now, we're gonna go back. We're gonna go back up to Death Mountain. So what I think's gonna happen here, I'm just guessing. We're gonna come up here. We're gonna get the flippers, and we're gonna use the flippers to check the fairy cave. And the fairy cave is going, or the waterfall cave, and the waterfall cave is going to have either a fire source, like a lamp, or it's going to have the boots. Either one of those would open this up quite a bit. Those crabs are your worst enemy at the beginning of this game. They do 2 hearts of damage. It's huge. Powder. Okay. So the big thing with randomizers is you want to follow the chain of logic. Like when you get an item, the first thing you should think of is what item does that allow me to get? So now we have the hammer and the dust. So we're gonna go ahead and check the bat cave. Because dust is only required for 1 item in the game, and initially you start to assume that every item towards the beginning leads you to something you need. In this case, we got the lamp. So yeah, so the R in the top right of the stream, as of yesterday, I am the Chief Business Officer for the Reflame Esports organization. Thank you, sir. And so we are now in the process of building up some different professional teams and getting a line of streamers and stuff going. Dan is now a baller. I don't know. I don't know necessarily how that qualifies me as such. However, I guess I'll take it. So we're gonna save the old man because, I mean, how would you like to be an old man stuck in a cave, blind, can't see anything, it's all dark, and with these boots that make you go really fast? Boom. This seed is open. Now, the funny thing about all this is you'll notice we still don't have a sword. So we have gone almost 40 minutes into this seed. Mind you, I started this timer a little late. We've gone 40 minutes into the seed with no sword. All right, so with that grab right there, that is huge for us. That allows us to do a lot. So the first things that I like to do, this is where the game really kind of shines as in the randomizer sense. Because so many routes are opened up to us. I wonder. So what I'm doing right here, it's called spin speed, but I'm using the hook shot. It's a trick that you can do in the 1.0 version if you have a sword, or the hook shot in this case. And it allows you to basically run at dashing speed without actually having to do the dash animation every time you go to run. Okay, so the way I typically play these randomizers is once I have the items to complete a dungeon that is required for me to beat the seed, I usually just go through and do it. So there's pros and cons to that. So like for instance, we're doing Eastern Palace right now, where if we were in the Dark World, Eastern Palace is directly where the Palace of Darkness is. So if we have to do the Palace of Darkness, and let's say the Eastern Palace here, when I complete it, doesn't have an item that we require, we can just mirror from the Palace of Darkness to the Eastern Palace and save us that travel time. However, it's early enough in the seed still that I like to just go through and complete what I can complete when I can complete it. Because, I mean, you know, that's what we want to. So we're going to have to do it at some point, so, you know, why not now? Another thing that's really cool about these randomizers is, you know, we've talked about a little bit about like utilizing different strats and stuff based on what items you have, but really like it really changes the way you play the game almost entirely. So for instance, I still don't have a dang sword, so I'm coming in this room instead of slashing all these guys. We're gonna hook shot them. Missed it. I don't know why I'm grabbing arrows like I need them. I have 59 arrows. And that's how you kill Armos relatively quickly. So now we're gonna go complete desert because we have the means to do so. However, this could end up proving to be humorous because we don't. Oh, why am I doing this? I'm dumb. Oh wait, no, never mind. Never mind. I'm okay. This could be kind of humorous because we still don't have a sword. So fighting land mollusk without a sword, it's not the most fun. It's not on my list of want-to-dos. And a lot of bosses using the hammer doesn't make it any like more difficult, honestly. And remember what I said about going to Palace of Darkness and then going to Eastern Palace? You run into the same idea here at Desert Palace, that if Misery Mire is required, you can just mirror here to the end of Desert Palace. One trick we're doing here, as you can see there, I just ran into that door and we unlocked it and went through. It's called a key dash. So if you are in a multiple of 4 frames, or 4 pixels, sorry, away from a door that you need to open with the key, you can dash and open it. However, if you are any other multiple away, that's what's gonna happen. You're gonna bounce off of it. Now, luckily, almost everything in this game for the doors that you are gonna key dash through have an item that is a multiple of 4 pixels away from it. So you can kind of rub on that item and that will line you up perfectly and set you up for every key dash. There's like one like that you can, you know, a couple that you can try to do. So we're gonna try to use the bow and arrow here. And this is gonna be a gross display, and I apologize. Seriously. Well, back when I was talking about having 59 arrows, it's coming in handy here. All right, second crystal done. Hey, Maxie, how are you doing? Alrighty, so we have Dark World access, and so that's what we are going to utilize. We're going to enter the Dark World over here by the town, because it is one of the best places for us to do so, and one of the only places based on the items that we currently have. Now, when we first get into the Dark World, we're going to find out a lot of information. Always fun. Nice. So here, now that we are in the Dark World, we're going to check our map and see what dungeons we have to beat. Turtle Rock is required, which means we have to get both the Fire Rod and Ice Rod. We don't know as far as medallions go. We still don't have a sword. Any sword would be nice. So the ones we don't necessarily have to do, maybe, maybe not, is Swamp Palace and Skull Woods. Ice Rod on pedestal. I'll find out at some point. Alright, a heart piece there. God. Let's check this other thing first. All I want is a sword. I don't care if it's a little fighter sword. It makes the boss of Thieves Town, which is named Blind, a million times easier. There we go. There we go. Blind without a sword is a painful fight. It's not a fun one. I've killed Blind, you know, using only the Cane of Samaria. Also not a fun option. But we haven't gotten the blue mail, and we have 7 hearts, which is good. But everything in the Dark World hits you for so much more that you want to get either defensive items or more health, preferably, just to feel good about the whole thing. I mean, obviously, what we're attempting to do here is not get hit, period, if possible. But there's going to be times where that's just going to pretty much fall at the wayside. More heart pieces. What? You should be fine. Now you also gotta remember, so since we don't have the Master Sword here, enemies are going to take more than the typical amount of hits. So you want to kind of avoid them as best we can. Now this hallway is called Hellway because of all those enemies and stuff. It can be very annoying. And very much so get in your way. And these little lizard buggers can do a crap ton of damage to you. And I've lost speed runs by getting hit by them because they just do a ridiculous amount of damage. So we're trying to avoid them altogether. Now we're going to go ahead and switch to our hammer, because that's going to be the next item we're going to need. But also, hammer does tempered sword damage. And since we only have the fighter sword, tempered sword damage is nice, because we can kill enemies in one hit. I have the fighter sword. So I basically do, you know, let's say 1 damage with the fighter sword. Hammer does 3 damage. Okay, so that means Blind, the boss of this place, has an item of some type on him. And here shortly, we're going to find out what that item is. And we're going to get this heart. Rental agents offer quarters for dollars. Now, Blind, the Blind fight is one of the toughest when you play casually. If you don't practice the game ahead of time or anything. But it is the most... it's one of the ones that can be replicated the easiest once you practice it. And that fight looks almost the same every time. So now we got the bug net. Blind must have been blind trying to catch some bees. Got allergic, got stung. And we're gonna go south here. Now we still don't have the Titan's Mitt, so we cannot help the frog. Who we'll just assume is Glenn from Chrono Trigger. So we're gonna play the digging game. It's gonna have 10 arrows for us. Not really something we need. Now we're gonna come down here, and we're gonna check this cave that's here in the light world. See what's in it. You know, I'm gonna grab this, because that puts me one away from getting another heart. And it's not like it was too far out of my way. We're gonna head back to the dark world. We're gonna come up here and check the stump boy. And see, the good thing about randomizers, you never have to see him turn into a tree, so you don't have to be sad. Now we're gonna check the hype cave. Get away! So we'll see what's in here. We got 5 items. We got a heart. There's that other heart. Another bottle. Ice rod. Half magic. No. Don't talk about him, Chabu. Okay, okay, now, let's see, Palace of Darkness is on the table. We're gonna do Palace of Darkness. Because we have everything to complete the dungeon. And Palace of Darkness has a ton of items. We're gonna do a nifty thing here called item dashing. It's gonna allow us to do that. Knock down several hammer pegs at the same time. We're just trying to keep that swag score up. Oh, yeah. And we just lost the swag score. Now, we're gonna walk through here. We're gonna get Kiki the extortionist monkey, who is gonna take 10 rupees from us just for following us. And when we walk up here to the Palace of Darkness, he's gonna take in another 100 from us, but he is gonna open the way. Well, to be honest, Jabu, bomb jumps for me without the old Master Sword. Those aren't happening. I don't even know where to position myself for those. I am already going to say that wouldn't happen. I don't know why, I almost always mess up that little part there. If I ever have to run through there with all the little bumper dudes, they like wreck me for some reason. Oh, you punk. So we're just checking a couple more of the areas here before we go to the big key. Or big chest, sorry. We're just gonna go ahead and do this, because it's faster. So one thing you can do here is the famous hammer jump. I don't have the Master Sword, and I am bad at it without it, so we're just gonna kind of do that instead. Or run through this guy. Check these other items first. Well, that was worth it. Heart. Man, I feel like this game has been real stingy on the good stuff. Shoot an arrow over here. That switch. So here's another example of something you can do in a randomizer that you can't, that you wouldn't do in the regular game. Is you'd have this cane here. Do one of these, and now you can open that up without having to push that statue over there. Saves a little bit of time. Seriously? Grabbing those, cause I don't even think we can do damage to King Helmasaur with the fighter sword with this mask off. So we're gonna use the hammer. And the funny thing about using the hammer is it's such a small whatchamacallit, hitbox that it can be difficult. Surprisingly enough, we don't have a boomerang. I'm gonna shoot an arrow over there. Alrighty. Okay. So trick for this is hold out your sword. As soon as it hits the mask, then you can hammer immediately. We're gonna go ahead and avoid these. Go ahead and heal here. I said this is not a fun boss to do with just a hammer when you're a pleb like me. But we're through it. And for our efforts, a burrito. We have a lot of options of where we can go. We can go to Swamp Palace. We can go to Skull Woods. We're gonna go to Swamp Palace. Oh, whoops. What am I thinking? And once again, just the same mentality. Both of these are pendant dungeons, so both of these are not technically required, but we don't have the Titan's Mitts to do Misery Mire or to get to the Dark World entrance for Turtle Rock. There's a couple more overworld places that we can check. But I usually like to check dungeons more than a lot of the overworld stuff. It just seems like, you know, there's more items concentrated, and so more items is good. The interesting thing about doing a randomizer is there's no such thing as a wrong decision. There's just like bad ones, or you can flip that. There's no such thing as a bad decision, just wrong ones, I guess. Because items can literally be anywhere, and you know, you could go to the areas where there's only one item, and somebody else could go to the one where there's 6. And the person that goes to 1 finds the item you actually need, whereas the person who went to 6 doesn't. Then the person who went to 1, although statistically had a smaller chance of it panning out, it worked out, and that's just the way. This is the way the randomizer goes. So that's the love-hate relationship that you'll have with them. Because when they go your way, it feels good. You completed a quick time, you felt like you made all the right plays, and then when it doesn't, you feel pretty much the opposite. So another choice that we could have made on the overworld is we could have gone to essentially North Hyrule and checked the graveyard. There are 2 chests that we can check in the graveyard right now. And then there is the hookshot cave, which is above it. Now, we wouldn't be able to get the item, but we could at least see what it was. This key you can flood if you happen to pull the switch and flood the water, because I had that extra key, but just instinctively I ran there to do this. However, it was not the fastest method. I also could have hook shot to that skull before hopping down. Ah! Usually you have the Master Sword by now, so hitting that switch isn't that much of an issue. But since we don't have it, obviously it causes a little bit of a commotion. This is one of the only dungeons that you do not need the big key to actually beat the dungeon. Because the big key in the vanilla game would be used to get the hook shot, which then you would use to get over to end up eventually getting to Argus the boss. But since we already have the hook shot coming into this dungeon, the big key is not necessary for us to beat the dungeon. Oh, man. Get out the way! I see, I didn't get it, right? Yeah. And I feel like this happens often. Oh, seriously. I feel like this happens often in this dungeon, that the big key is on the boss. It's like, it like does that just to remind you that it can be like that. Hey. That's kind of nice. So that means that Argus has the big key and that there's an item in the big chest. And this is another one of those guessing games when you're doing these randomizers. I could just leave right now because it's a blue pendant. I don't really need it for anything. Chances of this being an item that I need, pretty slim. You know what we're gonna do is we're gonna grab some hearts, just for safety. I don't think I can use this yet, right? Oh, no, I can. So here's the way you can actually get rid of those guys. Because you can't hit them with anything else, but ether works. Okay. Fun fight. So, fighter sword doesn't do any damage, but hammer does. So the optimal strat for us is to pull two of these little puffs and then Or, I guess pull more than 2, but if you're fast enough, you can pull 2 and hit them both with one hammer strike. Like such. Just another example of not having the items that you would have at the time and making do with what you got. I was gonna say, this is gonna take a while. There you go. And the big key! And the blue pendant we don't need. Oh, whoops. And super fast map strats. Alright, and now, for the thing that is going to be super annoying, we're going to run back to the big chest, and it has an item of some type. Now, it's not going to be something we need because of Murphy's Law. But at least it's not too long to check for it. And what do we got? 20 rupees. So if this were a race scenario, that entire Swamp Palace trip right there was pointless. We didn't get a single item that can be useful for us. So now we're gonna go to Skullwoods. We don't have the fire rod, so we can't check the back half of Skullwoods. And right now we're looking for the Titan's Mitts. That's the big one that we're looking for. Because Titan's Mitts is going to allow us to get into Ice Palace. It's going to allow us to get to the Dark World east side of Death Mountain. Both of which are going to have potential items for us. And Ice Palace is required for us to beat the game. Now, as far as the Ice Palace goes, we don't have Bombos, and we don't have a Fire Rod. Let's go Pedestal Seed. That's always the dream that that viewers are always hoping for, is that the pedestal will be required. So the pedestal being where you would typically get the Master Sword. Which would then turn this run into a, instead of just getting all the crystals, it would turn it into an all dungeons run, because you need to get the, what am I doing? You know what? I'm gonna cheese this. Because if you have to get all the pendants to be able to lift the sword off the pedestal to give you whatever item that the pedestal would have. It's a very rare thing that's required, but talked about constantly. So do a little bomb jump there to check that chest for no apparent reason. We've got one more chest to check here. Ow. That's gonna be through this door And this is another reason why it's so good we have this cane, because we can do that instead of trying to push that thing over there, which that room is one of the ones I hate the most in the game. We've got the map, so we're done here. And actually, we're gonna go back in here real quick. So we're done in Skull Woods. But we're gonna come up here so we can check the pedestal and see what the Master Sword or the pendants would give you. In this case, just a little piece of love. That means it's a heart piece, so all the pendants not required. We're gonna go back to the Dark World though. Because... Actually... Oh wait, no. No, I'm going the right way. I'm going the way I want to go. We're gonna come out here, we're gonna check that hookshot cave, just see what's there. Can't get it until we get the cape. However, knowledge is king in these sometimes. So Quake is up there. So if Quake ends up being needed, that means that the cape is required. Or check some things up here that we haven't checked yet. First of which be in this cave. Let's go ahead and grab that Quake medallion. No reason for us to skip grabbing it and end up having to find that we have to come back. These guys are annoying. And they do a ton of damage. I think they do like 4 hearts of damage or something like that if you have green mail. All I know is you don't want to ever get hit by them, because they are terrible. Yeah. Yeah, they would do 4 hearts of damage if you had green mail, because they are doing 2 to me, and I have blue mail right now. So we're gonna check in here, and then we're gonna check this chest down here. I swear, every item has been money. At least it feels like it sometimes. We've got a little boomerang. Ah, dang. I thought that may happen. That was dumb of me to put it right there. So we're gonna take this back. And we're gonna go across here. We're actually gonna go check the catfish and pyramid. I forgot you have to, if you're swimming, you get up over here. This seed is requiring almost all the overworld places to be checked. It's kind of neat. Doesn't happen too often. So this is, I mean, you know, it feels like a little bit lengthier of a seed because of that. Sometimes you get your items, like, you know, we got kind of front loaded with a ton of items when we checked Death Mountain, but since then we kind of really haven't gotten all that much. An arrow on the pyramid. Actually, can I check catfish? I forget if it's a, I think it's a, is it a dark one? I feel like it's a light one, but I'm not positive. We're gonna double check here in a second. Ah, that's a light one. And what does the glorious catfish have for us today? The Titan's mitts. Okay, so the only thing... So we only need 2 things at this point to be able to beat the game. We need the fire rod, and we need 1 more sword upgrade. We don't need silver arrows to beat the game. We can actually do a strat. It's called silverless, for, you know, obvious reasons, to beat Ganon without using the silver arrows. And you'll notice that those blocks disappeared. The mirror has strange properties when used in, like, caves. So we need bombos. So bombos is required. Dang. This seed's taking almost everything. Okay. So nothing there. We are gonna head to Eastern Death Mountain again, but this time on the Dark World side. We're gonna go ahead and talk to the old man for a quick sec, just for some health. We're gonna use the hook shot here because we are about to use it on the bridge, which also means we can go ahead and do that there, which is the spin speed that we used earlier, so we can run super fast. Oh, where am I going? So blocks have an interesting property. You can hook shot through them to be able to do things like that, so you don't have to go through all those areas going up the stairs and falling twice. Just makes travel a little easier. Well, that was bleh. All right, so now we're expecting some big things here. Another real hookshot cave here. A lot of times you find some good items here. Alright, that to check that off the list of things we need. So all we need now is the fire rod. Fire rod and what? Fire rod and bombos. So we can go into ice. We're already up here. And because this game likes to troll me, we're gonna go into Turtle Rock. Because I am assuming that it's going to require a double dip. Where I have to come in here twice. Because that's how much the game hates me. So now we're just gonna kind of mosey through Turtle Rock, checking everything that we can. We still have some places that we can check on Death Mountain that could potentially have it, because, like I said, anywhere could potentially have the items that you need. But you never know what the right move is until, you know, a split second after you've done it. Oh, I don't have the fire rod. Well, we're done in Turtle Rock. Completely didn't think about that one. So we got a couple more items that we can, item placements we can check up here. We got 3 actual item placements, and then we've got the Tower of Hera that we couldn't beat earlier because we didn't have the, we didn't have the whatchamacallit, we didn't have the fire source. But we can check this tablet. For another heart. We can knock out Hera real quick because it's not that long of a dungeon, although we do have to do the basement again, which is cruddy, but we'll get the big key here. And now we can go up the actual main part of the Tower of Hera. Slightly more equipped than you would be on a vanilla playthrough of the game. I don't know why I hit that guy with the sword. typically don't have the hook shot here, but we'll make it work. And since we're already this far, we haven't gotten any items. I messed it up. We will go ahead and take care of Moldorm. So the hammer actually works really good on Moldorm, because it does a lot of damage. And it will stop him from actually going into his fast mode, which is where if you're going to get knocked down, that's probably when it's going to happen. And the fire rod. Okay. So we can go to Turtle Rock and completely finish Turtle Rock. We can go to Ice Palace. We're going to go Turtle Rock since we're already up here. Do our spin speed and mess it up. Going good, dude. It was kind of front loaded on quite a few items, and then it kind of did like in, you know, the typical troll fashion. It really like slowed up on them. And so all we need to be in go mode, which go mode is us having every item that we need to actually just straight complete the game. So to be in go mode, we need Bombos. Once we get Bombos, our sights turn to just trying to complete the game as quickly as possible. Missed it. So we did that to try to do this, to fall. It's just faster than riding that whole thing around, since you come up here. Messed up my dash. So with the hook shot out, doing a lovely way of showcasing it here, but you can't take any damage. Hey, we got a red shield. So you can kind of do this. And like I said, I can apparently only kind of do that. I would prefer to not have to do Trinex with just the Master Sword. Beggars can't be choosers. So we go with what we can get. We have dust, so it makes going through pretty much any of the dark world dungeons a lot easier. So if you're ever low on health, there's these anti-fairies, especially in Misery Mire and Turtle Rock. They are everywhere. You know what? I'm gonna grab that and do this. This should be a small key or the big key. So that was I had basically a 50-50 chance there for it to give me back the key that it had, or give me the big key. So I went with and then the, oh no, it would have had to have been big key. Yeah, no, I'm dumb. Yeah, no, it would have had to have been the big key, because there's only one other place you can go, and it's the big chest. Now, usually you can use Tempered Sword through this dungeon, and you can kill these pokies a lot quicker. But since we don't have Tempered Sword, we're just gonna bust out the Fire Rod every time it's needed. Since we don't have bombos, and we're so close to going into go mode, we want to check all the places that we can on the way, because it could be anywhere. That was weird. It didn't even give me the little fanfare. Bombos is all we need. That's all we have to get to complete the game. A vanity item that would be nice would be silver arrows. Now, although Ganon is able to be defeated without them, it is much quicker to do it with them. He's 4 silver arrow shots. Otherwise, he's 16 hits with the Tempered Sword. And I think it's like a whopping 24 or 32 if you just have the Master Sword. Yeah, Tempered it would be a nice luxury item at this point. It's not necessary, and quite honestly, with us having to go into Ganon's tower, the probability of Ganon's tower actually having sword upgrades is pretty high. He likes to keep all the weapons to kill him, you know, nearby. Hey, the red boomerang. Ah, messed it up. Shovel. Why can't I do this? So what we're doing here is called laser skip, for reasons that you can probably guess. Red boomerang and a shovel. I apparently can't walk on a bridge. So Tempered would be nice against Trinex. Doesn't look like we're gonna get that today. The game has definitely been testing my my ability to do some boss fights tonight. It's okay though. I'm not overly worried about it. Without Tempered though, we're gonna have to use the hammer. Which is not a fun fight. Oh, I didn't even see the tail wiggle. Uh-oh. And move. This is not typically how you would have to do this fight. It's very rare that you have to do this fight with utilizing the hammer. That's okay, we have a fairy, so I'm not worried about that. But if I'm sure, I believe the Master Sword doesn't do any damage against the heads, so... Well, we got a heart and another crystal. So, to Ice Palace we go. Just before we go there, though, on the off chance, we are going to check the digging spot, because we got the shovel. And if we get Bombos out of here, we can skip a lot of Ice Palace. So cross your fingers. Of course it's rupees, because it's been rupees every time we've tried to get anything in this game. Before we go in there, because we like to postpone doing Ice Palace because a lot of time can be spent in Ice Palace. We're gonna check a couple more overworld locations. So we're gonna go ahead and rescue the blacksmith. Because we now have the Titan's Mitts. Then we are going, assuming... this is the order of things we're gonna check, assuming that we don't get Bombos in any of these. So we got the blacksmith. We're gonna check the peg cave. Which the peg cave is called that because of all these little pegs here. This is the coolest part of being able to item dash. Silver arrows, we will take them, which basically makes Yan an easy mode. Silver arrows also helps out a lot on a lot of different bosses. However, in this case, you won't see that because we've killed pretty much all the bosses. However, Vitreous, who we have not killed, the boss of Misery Mire, is made a much quicker fight with the silver arrows. Big hearts from the blacksmith. We're gonna come right back to this location so we can go ahead and grab this purple chest. And we're gonna come right back to the light world. Fly down here to Swamp Palace. We're gonna walk this chest over here to the Master Thief, who's going to open it for us, giving us a heart piece. While we're down here, we're going to check what that tablet has, where Bombos is in the original game. Now, if Bombos is there, in this case, that would be pretty crazy. I don't know how many item locations. It's something like 240 or something like that, or 255 or something. But whenever something is in its original spot, like Bombos or any of the key items, it's always like, oh man, I never would have checked there, because it just statistically doesn't feel like it. It feels like it shouldn't be there more than it shouldn't be almost anywhere else. And in the Bombos tablet, we have another heart. Ice Palace, we go. We have very few places that we can check outside of dungeons at this point. Very rare that a run will take this this long. Usually, I'd say probably 90% of the time I am midway through Ganon's Tower by about this time, if not towards the end. So it's interesting how the seed is kind of panned out by withholding a couple of items. But once we get Bombos, we can just zoom on out of here. Whoops. And we can zoom on out of here, beat this dungeon real quick, and then head over to Meyer. But there's a couple of overworld locations. And then we could potentially do Skull Woods, and on the trolliest side that it could possibly be would be that Sahasrahla could have Bombos after beating Skull Woods, getting the green medallion, and then trading it into him. We're going to do one of the first tricks you learn when you're trying to speedrun the game is the Ice Palace bomb jump. Requires a couple perfect pixel placements. Well, it's not necessarily perfect, but you gotta adjust yourself based on where you place your bomb or how far you back up. It's got like, I don't know, 3 or something places that it works, and based on how you place your bombs, you move on a different pixel. Bomb jump wasn't necessarily even needed because of, as you just saw there, I can just fall down the pit and everything. Since I have the cane, I could do the same thing that block did, but once again, we're trying to get back some swag points from the things we've messed up. Everybody loves ice physics. We slash while we're running to more control our directions better. Another full heart. I can't remember the last time I had this many hearts, nor this many items. Come on, Bombos, show thyself. We're not going to grab that chest because we're going to grab it on the way back. We still got 2 chests to check this way. First of which being in this room. Alright, we've got the map and the compass, so that means we've got a couple more chests here. One of these is going to be the big key. Which the big key is not necessary to beat this dungeon, even in the normal game, if you can do that that bomb jump. We're gonna take this way because it's gonna be just a little faster. And since we have the big key, we're gonna check this chest. Then we'll go down and fight Cold Stare. Cold Stare is a boss that gives a lot of people trouble because he does a truckload of damage. There's a reason why you find the blue mail in this dungeon in the original game. However, we got half magic, so we're gonna use we're gonna use some fire rod action on him. I'm gonna switch to the hammer because it's gonna do more damage. A little bit riskier to use the hammer because the hitbox is smaller, but we made short work of him. Okay, we gotta check these last overworld places. So we are going to go to Spike Cave, something we hadn't checked yet. And if it's not in Spike Cave, we are going to go to Skull Woods, beat Skull Woods, get the green pendant. If we don't get it before we get the green pendant, then we're going to take the green pendant to Sahasrahla. And then... I mean, damn. We'll be at almost a full clear of the game. So we're save and quit because it's going to be a faster method for us to get out of here. We're going to start at the mountain cave just so we can kiss this old man, get back our health, come out here, and then we're going to go ahead and use the ocarina to fly to Kakariko. So, and at this point, this is like, you know, if there's ever a spot that would give newer players a little bit of trouble, it would be this point in the game, where you've checked like 95% of the locations items can be. Especially if you're not using a tracker, then you may not know where the other items are that you can check. And needing that one item to be able to progress. Well, let's go kill Mothula. Oh, man. What? Oh, he picked me up while I was falling down the pit. So I took damage from falling down the pit. But I don't think I took damage from him. What am I doing? I'm supposed to do this. That was why. It's because I was doing the room dumb. Gonna hit that on purpose. Fire on that guy. Knock that guy around. Grab this heart. Grab this heart. Key dash through this door. And we are to Mothula. So interesting thing about Mothula is you can't really hurt him if he hits spikes. So you want to keep him off the back wall or against or away from the sides too. But the fire rod is your friend. And with half magic, it makes it a lot easier. There's Bombos. So other than... So that's pretty trolly. So other than Swamp Palace, you had to do 2 of the pendant dungeons all the way through to the boss because the boss held a key item. Alright, so now that we got Bombos, we are gonna fly over to Misery Mire, complete Misery Mire, then we're gonna go pay Ganon's Tower a visit, and we're gonna finish this run up. So the only 2 things that we need to find at this point are the big keys for Misery Mire and Ganon's Tower. This dungeon's pretty straightforward. As far as what we're gonna check, not too tough. So all we need is the big key. Big key, and we can just make a beeline towards the end of this dungeon. Tempered sword, that's a nice find. I can't complain about getting tempered. That means our Ganon fight's gonna be a lot easier. Ganon's Tower will be easier. So all of that is, of course, helpful. Once again, if it was a chest that we thought we were going to get something that we could use, it would be money. I wish I could find this much money in real life. And looks like the big key is going to be in its original location? Could be in the chest after, where you would typically get the big key, or use the big key. We can play around with those that little ice block, or not ice block, but the block physics here. And just kind of block through those. Because while they are moving, they have no hitbox, essentially. Although Link is committed to his animation of actually pushing the block, it's not necessary for, I mean, anything can pass through it. Okay, so in the last possible chest that you would ever check when searching for the big key, that's where we're gonna find it. So we're actually gonna pass the big chest on our way to get the big key. I have no idea what I was thinking there. Been a while since I did that. Like, don't think I've ever done that. You can actually make it over here without using the hookshot. It's just quicker to use the hookshot. Don't have a big key, so we can't open the chest. But lo and behold, in this chest right here is going to be the big key. And if we walked all the way back around to that big chest, it's going to have a small key in it to help us open that door. But there's another door that you need a key, I believe? No, there isn't. Yeah, no, I was right. So yeah, you can just use this small key here, but the big key chest is gonna have a small key in case you used your small key right there to get to that big key chest. And then you needed a small key to get through that door. That's one of the really cool things that they've done with the logic on this, as far as building the randomizers, is they've made it so that you can, for the most part, you cannot soft lock. Now there are a couple places where if you're doing some tricks, like some speedrunning tricks and some skips and stuff, you may use a key that was intended to be saved and used somewhere else. Oh, what? I missed. Since we are somewhat low on health, we're gonna go ahead and do that. Stock up. I don't anticipate needing any more health or anything like that before Ganon and whatnot, so we're gonna go like this, like that. Walk through that guy because we fail at the timing. Go ahead and use our bow with silver arrows to make very short work of Vitreous. And there we go. That is our 7th crystal. Let's get to Death Mountain, do Ganon's Tower, and finish this run up. So, and, you know, talking a little bit more about, like, the randomizer and the different modes and stuff that it has, some of the really fun ones, there's a key sanity mode where all of the keys in the game are shuffled too, so you find the small keys for different dungeons in different places. So in the overworld, you can find small keys for different dungeons. You can find the big keys for different dungeons. It just adds more complexity to the entire logic of how and where you go. There is the open mode, which is talked about, which is starts you up after the escape sequence, but you don't have a sword. There is the retro mode, where if you're used to playing like the Legend of Zelda 1 randomizers, why am I going left side first? The Legend of Zelda 1 randomizers, where any key can be used in any dungeon. That's another one. That's a pretty fun mode. That's a newer mode that they've created. Now, a mode that is being experimented with, and it hasn't been finalized and made readily accessible to everyone as of yet, is the Super Metroid Legend of Zelda randomizer. And so what that is that is a Link to the Past linked with Super Metroid. So you can find Super Metroid items, and you can find in a Link to the Past, and you can find Link to the Past items in Super Metroid. Crazy idea, super cool. Big key. Let's just open these because we're here. We want to have one key before we go up, and we're gonna grab that key. Right, meow. Alrighty. Let's go face Agadim Dose and then finish the game. You'll notice I swipe my sword while I'm facing a direction there, and what that does is that still, while you're swiping the sword, if you are holding a direction, it still manipulates these mimics into moving in whatever direction you're trying to manipulate them into, even though you're not moving. So it's kind of an easier way to set them up that way. This is what is commonly referred to as the gauntlet. It's a quick sequence of rooms that can make or break a good Ganon's Tower run, because of just the RNG that enemies can take. And just to stock up, go ahead and do that. Ah, still had one on the screen. You don't have one arrow out at any point in time. So... there's some pretty nifty little, easy to do, but looks impressive strats in these rooms. Like, I remember first time I saw somebody do that room and kill all 3 mobs, I was like, man, that is the coolest thing. Then they came in here and did it with 4 mobs. I still did it with 3 though, because I'm not as swaggy as them. But nonetheless, it was still really super cool. Dude, it was. Really super cool. You talking about me? No, Ace. No, I'm not. Welcome, dude. How you doing, man? We don't have to open these chests, but you know what? We're greedy. Doing good, dude. Oops. Get off me. Moldorm, real easy with Tempered Sword. Hey, we got a mirror shield to block the nothing that it can block till the end of the game. Oh man, I haven't done this in a long time. I'm starting to make it look like I don't know what I'm doing. Let's make this as complicated as possible. Man, I am terrible at Aga tonight. Ah! All right, let's go and kill Ganon and call it good. Got here just in time. Yeah, man. Think you're so smart. Bet you don't know I can hum. Can't hum while you're holding your nose closed. Man, I really messed up the beginning. I should probably play it safer. Apparently, I'm close to death. So I'm just gonna go ahead and chill with this, oh god. Oh, man. So that was a little close. Come on, man. Stop your shenanigans. Oof. Okay. And that's it. So one thing we did here is we did what's called torch glitch. If you light the left torch before the right one goes out, the right one will never go out, so you only have to worry about lighting one torch. And that's the run. And there's always a random quip of some sort there. I'm gonna assume that was Lady Gaga. Although I really don't think so, because it's like a raw or whatever. But yeah, then you have your credits. There'll be some things changed. One of the really neat things at the end here, it will actually show you a bunch of different statistics from your run, which is really cool for if you're trying to improve certain parts of your play. Like for instance, bonking into things when you're using the boots. So if you have the boots early in the game, you can see how many times you've bonked into things, which is like running into walls or statues or, you know, something that you can't actually dash through. And that's kind of something you can look at how to improve a little bit. Another big improvement thing is item menu time. How long were you actually using to select your items? And I know they're all like little things, but there is a very competitive scene for the Zelda randomizers, as I mentioned earlier, with the speed gaming sites, the randomizer channels on Twitch. All of those are huge. There's, you know, they're just now having a 512 person tournament for the randomizer here in the spring. It's the largest one that they've had. It actually took as many people as the challenge site could take, which is really phenomenal. So there's, you know, people of all varying skill levels. I'd say that the average on the top tier players are going to be sub 2 hours for every seed, whereas like your more beginner players are going to be more around the 3 hour mark. And then obviously people that are just playing Zelda for like maybe the first time, you know, is going to be closer to the upwards of like up to like 4 hours and stuff like that. But I would highly recommend that if you're going to try out one of these randomizers, start off with standard randomizer. You can even make it on an easy mode, where basically you take less damage. There's more safeties out in the world. Like for instance, you can get quarter magic instead of half magic, so stuff takes a quarter of the magic. So I mean, you can literally just fire rod till your heart's content, start the world on fire, and never run out of magic. It's really cool features and customization that you can do to each run that you want to do. Or, you know, if you're a masochist and you want to make it extremely hard, you can do a swordless run where you never find a sword. So you end up having to kill Ganon using the hammer and silver arrows. And then on top of that, you can actually put it on like insane, or, you know, it has different varying degrees of difficulty, where you can adjust it where there's less heart pieces in the world. You don't find any like blue mail, red mail. There's no silver arrows. You can make it so there's no silver arrows, so you have to do a silverless Ganon, which is it can be a very long fight, especially if you only have Master Sword. The Master Sword the Master Sword Ganon fight is like, it's like a 4-minute commitment, and what can make that really difficult is if you're doing the insane mode. So like for instance, you know how I use the dust on some of those anti-fairies to get, well, you know, fairies out of them so that we could get health back. If you use the dust on anti-fairies on the harder modes, they turn to a bunch of bees, and then all the bees swarm you. I didn't know that happened on that when the first time that I went to play one, so I was like, yes, I'm about to die. Threw dust on the anti-fairy. Next thing you know, there's just a swarm of bees, and I died like immediately. It was hilarious. But yeah, you can make it a game. You can make it much more difficult than what we've done here today. Today was just a standard randomized weapon randomizer. So the only thing that was really different, and on normal difficulty, the only thing that was really different is that Uncle, instead of having a sword, in this case, as you saw, he gave us bombs, which is probably one of the more difficult ones that you can start off with. Because also bombs don't give you progression. So like if you get like Fire Rod, you know for a fact you already have a fire source. So anywhere that you needed a fire source in the game, you already have it. You can already get into the back part of Skull Woods. Bombs, I mean, you can get bombs in the escape by killing some of those snakes. So bombs are not nearly as useful in the grand scheme of things. This randomizer pretty much trolled us almost as much as it could have. The only difference is it could have had something on either the pedestal or Sahasrara. Sup, Amo? How you doing, man? How you doing, wrestling? I like how he's holding the potion. Yeah, Mo, you just missed a funny seed. The like it was pretty front loaded. And then everything, like, it required 2 of the pendant dungeons, killing the boss at the end of them. Oh, that's the other thing. So the entrance randomizer, if you do an entrance randomizer, that makes it so if you go in a cave, you don't know where that cave's gonna take you. It could take you to anything. It could take you to one of the dungeons. It could take you to somewhere crazy. What ends up happening, so if you go into a cave that has 2 exits out of the cave, you could go in it, and let's say you go into the library, okay? You go into the library, next thing you know, you're popping out on Death Mountain East, and it's just teleporting you around all over the damn place. No, Mo. So here's the stats. These are the stats that I like to look at. So, first sword, I didn't get a sword until almost 48 minutes into the run. We had the boots at 38, flute at 25, mirror at 34. We killed 2 bosses without swords, 3 with the fighter sword, 4 with master sword, 3 with tempered. We never got the gold sword. The Ganon Tower big key, everybody likes to guess what that's gonna be. So we got it on the 3rd chest. It's pretty sweet. 26 bonks, not bad. 7 save and quits. 0 deaths. We did have the 1 fairy revival on Trinex. Total menu time 7 minutes 25 seconds. That's a pretty high one. Usually like to keep that under 5 minutes. 3 to 4 is better. We collected, honestly, I think we collected every single thing on the overworld except for turning in the green pendant. And as far as on the dungeons, we 100% all the dungeons except for a couple where we knew that they were going to have either the map or the compass, and then we didn't do all of Ganon's Tower, which would have been another 19 items. So we were really close to 100% opening up every single thing in the game. This is about 30 to 40 or so more items than I usually grab in any run that I usually take. But with that, guys, I'm actually going to call it here for the night. Thank you so much for stopping by, and we will catch you guys all next time. Have a good evening.